Beneath the veil of night, where silence gathers like a secret, there is a city that once hummed with the pulse of life, a city so ancient its name has become nothing more than a whispered echo, carried on the wind. Babylon. The very syllables of its name have been etched into the stones of history. Yet today, in the flickering glow of the moon, it lies buried beneath the sands of time. It is said that if you listen closely, you can hear the faintest murmur, a whisper drifting across the wind, curling through the stones like a dream that has not yet fully faded. The ruins stand still, like the remnants of an old prayer, worn and crumbled by the weight of centuries. The past lies thick in the air, heavier than the dust that rests upon the ancient stones. As we step into this forgotten city, it is not the dust that catches our breath, but the overwhelming sense of silence, a silence so profound it feels like the earth itself has forgotten how to speak. The moon casts its pale, sacred light upon the cracked and broken walls, and we follow the faintest trace of a path, a journey into the heart of a place that once stood at the very center of the world. Babylon, so grand, so rich, so filled with life, now lies abandoned and lost, shrouded in the embrace of time. It was here, they say, that the greatest of kings once ruled, their voices commanding the winds and the stars. But those voices have long since faded. What remains are only the stones, the remnants of a world that once believed it could touch the heavens. Beneath the silence, we feel a whisper, a haunting breath that stirs the air. It is as if the city itself still remembers. The walls, though cracked and broken, seem to hum with a secret that has yet to be told. And in this stillness, there is a presence something older than the city itself, something that has watched through the centuries, through the rise and fall of empires. The stones speak not with words, but with a quiet weight, a presence that holds the memory of a time now forgotten. Some believe the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were once the marvel of the world, a paradise of greenery and water, suspended in the heart of the desert. But what remains? A fading memory, a dream half remembered. Could it be that such beauty never truly existed, or was it simply a reflection of a time so distant it has slipped beyond the grasp of memory? Perhaps the gardens were never real at all, but instead, an ancient myth born from the longing of a people who dreamed of heaven on earth. Or perhaps the truth is something deeper, hidden beneath layers of dust and time. We cannot know for sure. We only know that the story lingers, like a shadow that refuses to fade. As we move deeper into the heart of Babylon, the city's vastness seems to stretch infinitely before us. The broken gates, once adorned with symbols of gods and kings, stand silent, their grandeur now only a faint memory. Each step we take echoes through the emptiness, reverberating through the ruins like a prayer that was never answered. The air is heavy with the weight of what has been lost, not just the city, but the knowledge, the wisdom, the lives that once filled its streets. What was Babylon, truly? What did it hold in its heart that now lies buried beneath the sand? We are left with only fragments, whispers of something magnificent, something divine. The ruins are scattered like a forgotten puzzle pieces that no longer fit together, fragments of a once glorious whole. Some say the ancient kings of Babylon, those whose names are now lost to the winds, were blessed by the gods themselves. The city was said to be a place where the divine and mortal realms met, a place of incredible power and sacred beauty. But what happens to a place that is abandoned by both gods and men? Does it fade into the earth, or does it live on, hidden from view, waiting for someone to listen to its silent story? Beneath the silence, there is an ancient mystery, a question that has lingered through the centuries. Why was Babylon erased? Was it by the hand of war, the sword of a conqueror who wished to blot out its glory? Or did the city simply fade, like a dream slipping away upon waking? Some say the gods themselves turned their faces from Babylon, leaving it to crumble in the heat of the desert sun. Others believe that the city's fall was not caused by any mortal hand, but by something far more profound, a quiet, sacred ending, a death that was meant to be. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. In the heart of Babylon, there is a sense of waiting, as though time itself has paused. The winds blow gently through the ruins, stirring the dust in soft swirls. The city has become part of the earth, and the earth, in turn, has become part of the city. There is no beginning, no end, only the eternal cycle of rise and fall, of creation and destruction. The stones, though weathered and broken, still carry the memory of something great, something divine. And so, we linger in the quiet ruins, in the hollow space where history and myth intertwine. The mysteries of Babylon are not easily solved. Perhaps they were never meant to be. Some mysteries remain hidden, their truths locked away in the silence between the stones. The city of Babylon may have vanished, but the questions it leaves behind remain. What was it, truly, that made this city so powerful, so sacred? What knowledge, what wisdom, what divine connection was once held in its heart? Perhaps, as the moonlight fades, we will never know. But as we stand in the shadows of Babylon, beneath the cold gaze of the stars, there is something that stirs deep within us, a sense of wonder, of awe, of quiet longing for something that is no longer here, but still lingers in the air. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen, and perhaps, in the silence of Babylon, we are ready to hear. Beneath the weight of forgotten stars, where the sea meets the sky, there is a place lost to both time and memory, a city whose name has drifted into the depths, like a prayer whispered by the wind. Dwarka. It is said that this ancient city was once the jewel of the divine, where gods and mortals walked together, and where the very earth itself seemed to hum with celestial energy. But now, there is only silence. The city, bathed in legend, has long since been swallowed by the ocean, leaving only the ripples of its memory to trace the waves. We sail toward the horizon, where the ocean meets the sky, but there is no line, no boundary. The vastness of the sea feels eternal, endless, like a living presence that holds its secrets in the deepest recesses of its waters. In the air hangs a quiet weight, as though the sea itself has grown old, holding within its depths the shadows of things lost and things never meant to be found. The gentle sway of the boat, the whisper of the wind, all of it seems to move with a rhythm of its own, like an ancient song, long forgotten, but never truly silent. It is said that Dwarka was the city of the gods, a place where mortal kings and divine beings coexisted in a harmony so perfect it seemed to touch the heavens. The walls of Dwarka, some believe, were made not just of stone and wood, but of something far more sacred, a material woven from the very fabric of the cosmos. Its streets were said to shimmer with light, its temples adorned with gems that glowed like stars. It was a city beyond imagination, a paradise hidden from the mortal eye. But now, all that remains are stories, scattered whispers told by those who have heard the ancient legends passed down through time, and the silent depths of the ocean that hold no answers. The city's name Dwarka still echoes in the corners of the world, though few know the truth behind its fall. Some say the city was swallowed by the ocean after the gods abandoned it, its people lost to the depths in a single moment of divine wrath. Others speak of a great flood, a natural disaster that sent the city crashing beneath the waves, as though the earth itself could no longer bear the weight of such sacred beauty. The mystery of Dwarka remains unanswered, a question posed by the sands of time, left to drift like a forgotten dream on the surface of the sea. The mist swirls around us, and with each passing wave, we feel ourselves drawn deeper into the heart of the legend. Some say that, even now, the city of Dwarka lies beneath the waters, its treasures waiting, untouched, beneath the surface. There are those who claim to have glimpsed the faint outlines of its ruins through the shimmering haze of the ocean, as if the city itself is still alive, breathing beneath the waves. But these whispers remain unproven, only the faintest glimmer of hope, in a world filled with mysteries that can never be fully understood. As we move further into the sea, we begin to feel the weight of the water around us, the deep, unfathomable depths that seem to hold more than just salt and fish. There is something ancient in the rhythm of the ocean, something that stretches back to the very beginning of time. The waves crash softly against the sides of the boat, their sounds soft and endless, like the murmurs of a world that has seen everything, yet speaks of nothing. The vastness of the sea is like a memory, an infinite space where everything and nothing exist at once. The ocean holds all secrets, and yet, in its immensity, it reveals none. Whispers tell us that Dwarka's true fate is written not in the sand, nor in the scrolls of ancient priests, but in the stars themselves. Some believe that the city was not lost, but simply hidden, veiled in a way that only the gods could understand. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, perhaps it was meant to rest in a sacred space between worlds, a place where the divine could wander in peace, unbothered by the fleeting passage of time. Perhaps, in that hidden realm, Dwarka still stands, its towers still reaching toward the heavens, its waters still lapping gently against its shores. Perhaps it is not gone at all, but merely waiting, waiting for the moment when we are ready to see it once again. As the boat drifts further into the silent expanse of the ocean, we begin to sense the presence of something far older than the city itself. The water, dark and unyielding, seems to hold memories. Memories of those who walked its streets, who touched its stones, who once worshipped its gods. The ocean carries within it the echoes of those who lived and loved in Dwarka, the sounds of prayers whispered beneath the stars, and yet, the deeper we go, the more the city seems to fade, like a half-remembered dream at the edge of sleep, always just out of reach. In the quiet between the waves, there is a subtle shift in the air, as though the world itself holds its breath. The ocean, once endless and infinite, now feels contained, a place where time no longer moves forward, but rather in circles, repeating itself in an eternal dance. Dwarka, whether real or myth, lies somewhere in this sacred rhythm, a place that has been both forgotten and preserved in the silence of the ocean's depths. It is said that some places are not meant to be found, not because they are lost, but because they exist in a different space, one where time moves like the ocean, endless, vast, and ever-changing. With each ripple in the water, we draw closer to something, though we cannot say what. The sea has no answers, no solutions to offer. It is a realm of mysteries, a place where questions are left unanswered, where silence reigns supreme. As we move further into the embrace of the water, we are suspended in that space between belief and truth, between what was and what could have been. The city of Dwarka remains a question without an answer, a mystery wrapped in the folds of time, waiting for those who are willing to listen to its echoes. And so, we sail, caught between the shimmering surface of the ocean and the unfathomable depths beneath. The city is lost, or perhaps not lost at all, simply hidden, waiting. Perhaps, like all sacred things, it exists in the spaces we cannot see, in the folds of time and memory, where no mortal can truly reach. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, but only whispered about in the winds, in the waves, in the stars. The city of Dwarka, whether real, myth, or dream, lives on, eternally etched in the silence of the ocean's depths. And as the boat continues its quiet journey, we are left with the question, what truly happened to Dwarka? Perhaps the answer lies not beneath the water, but in the very space between the waves, where memory fades and time is forgotten. Beneath the golden sands of Egypt, where the earth holds its breath and the winds whisper stories of time's endless passage, there lies a tomb, nearly forgotten, its name erased from the living memory of the world. It is not the tomb of a king, nor of a ruler whose deeds shaped the course of nations. No, this tomb belongs to a princess, the sister of a pharaoh, whose name has slipped quietly into the shadows of history. Her existence is scarcely remembered, and yet, beneath the weight of the ages, her tomb still whispers of a royal bloodline, long gone. The journey begins in the deep silence of the desert, where the sun-drenched sands stretch out in every direction, an endless sea of golden dust. Here, where time is measured not in hours, but in millennia, the tomb lies hidden, waiting to be discovered, waiting for a moment when its secrets might once again be heard. It is said that, beneath the scorching sun, the earth holds its breath, guarding the tomb like a forgotten dream, a memory not yet ready to be unearthed. As we approach, the air thickens, and the winds seem to fall silent, as though the earth itself is holding its breath. The stone steps beneath our feet are worn smooth by the passage of time, their edges softened by centuries of wind and sand. We step cautiously, as though in reverence, into the labyrinth of stone that guards this sacred place. The path is narrow, winding, and as we move deeper into the tomb's heart, the air grows thick with the scent of incense and dust, carrying with it the weight of 1,000 forgotten prayers. The darkness ahead is deep and ancient, as if the very walls themselves have absorbed the whispers of those who came before. Beneath the flickering light of our torch, the tomb reveals itself, a place not built for the living, but for the eternal rest of someone who once stood in the light of the gods themselves. The walls are covered in faded frescoes, their once vibrant colors now dulled by the passage of time, but still faint traces of life can be seen. There are depictions of a royal family, of a queen and her children, and in the shadows, the faint outline of a woman who might have once been the princess, the sister of a pharaoh. Her image is not bold, not grand, but there is a quiet beauty in the simplicity of her portrayal. She stands with grace, her eyes cast down in a gesture of solemnity, as though she knows her place in the world has already begun to fade. The tomb, though magnificent, is not as grand as those built for kings. Its walls are not adorned with jewels or treasures, and its chambers do not hum with the weight of power. No, this is a place of quiet reverence, a place where time has passed with little more than a whisper. It is as though the tomb was never meant to be discovered, as though it was always meant to be a secret, a place reserved for the forgotten. And yet, there is something sacred here, something profound, as if the princess herself still lingers in the air, her presence just beyond the veil of memory. In the dim light, the tomb begins to take shape. The stone is cool beneath our fingers, rough and worn, as though it has borne witness to the ebb and flow of countless lifetimes. The silence within is thick, almost tangible, and as we walk deeper into the chambers, the air grows heavier, as though the tomb itself is alive with memories, with the breath of those long past. The delicate threads of her life seem to float through the stillness, carried on the faintest of whispers. Her name is forgotten, but her story lingers, carried on the dust of the earth, written in the faded lines of the walls. She was a princess, a sister, and though the world may have forgotten her, she is not lost, not entirely. Some believe that the princess's name was never spoken aloud after her death, that her memory was erased, lost to time in the wake of her brother's reign. Was it jealousy that caused her to fade from the pages of history, or was it a tragic accident, a fall from grace that no one could bear to remember? Whispers tell us that the pharaoh, in his power, chose to erase her from the records, her legacy buried beneath the sands. Perhaps it was because she was never meant to be a ruler, never meant to stand in the light of power. Perhaps it was because the world could not bear to remember a woman who once walked so close to the divine, yet was destined to fade into the shadows. The air thickens around us, and as we move deeper into the tomb, we begin to feel the weight of her loss. The stones, worn and crumbled with time, seem to hum with a secret that only the tomb can reveal, a truth that is locked away in the silence of her forgotten chambers. There are no grand inscriptions here, no sacred texts detailing the princess's life. Only fragments remain, the faint outline of a life once lived, a life whose beauty has long since slipped into the veil of history. The tomb is not a place of great grandeur, but it is a place of profound beauty, a place where memory lingers like a faint echo, calling us to listen, to understand. In the stillness of the tomb, we linger, caught between the past and the present, between the known and the unknown. The darkness feels alive, as though it carries with it the weight of time itself. Perhaps the princess's story was never meant to be fully understood, never meant to be remembered in its entirety. Perhaps, in the end, she was not meant to be a queen, not meant to live in the light of history. And yet, as we stand in the quiet embrace of the tomb, we sense that her spirit is not lost. She is still here, in the silence, in the dust, in the very stones that form her final resting place. Beneath the flickering light, we pause, taking in the stillness of the tomb, the weight of the past pressing gently against our minds. The air is thick with the scent of incense and dust, and in the quiet, we can almost hear the echoes of her life, faint and distant, like a song carried on the wind. Perhaps it is not answers we seek, but the grace of an unspoken farewell, the quiet recognition that some stories are meant to remain unfinished, some lives are meant to fade, to be carried away on the winds of time, to be remembered only in fragments, in whispers. As we step back from the tomb, the silence envelops us once more. The stone, the dust, the faded frescoes, they remain, but the princess, her name lost to the world, is no more. Yet in the stillness, In the silence of this forgotten place, we are left with a question. Was she truly forgotten? Or did she simply choose to be hidden, like a secret buried beneath the sands, waiting for those who are willing to listen to her quiet story? Perhaps, in the end, some stories are never meant to be fully told. Perhaps some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. And as the tomb fades from our sight, we are left with the memory of her not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a woman whose life once touched the stars, and whose spirit now lingers in the quiet embrace of the earth. A princess whose name is lost to history, but whose soul remains, forever etched in the silence of this forgotten tomb. High in the Andes, where the earth meets the heavens, there exists a place untouched by time, a place so sacred, so otherworldly, that it seems to exist outside the boundaries of the world we know. It is said that Machu Picchu, the ancient citadel, was built not for mortals, but for the gods themselves. Perched upon the jagged peaks of the Andes, where the clouds swirl in an eternal dance with the mountain tops, this city seems suspended between the realm of the living and the infinite sky. As the sun dips below the horizon, the city is slowly bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, and the ruins begin to hum with a quiet, sacred rhythm. In the hush of the night, the stone terraces appear to float in the air, their edges softened by mist, as though they too are part of the sky. The stone, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, seems to pulse with ancient memories. Here, on these sacred grounds, the boundaries between past and present blur, and the veil that separates the known from the unknown grows thin. The moon casts long shadows over the crumbled walls, and for a moment it feels as if time itself holds its breath, waiting for us to listen. We wander through the ruins, our steps gentle, our voices hushed, as though we are intruding upon a sacred place. The stones beneath our feet seem to echo with the weight of forgotten history. The terraces, once filled with the bustle of life, now stand silent, empty, yet full of secrets. It is said that Machu Picchu was built as an offering to the gods, a place where the divine could descend from the heavens and walk among the living. The city's geometry, its placement, its design, all point to a knowledge that transcends earthly understanding, a wisdom that once belonged to a civilization far older and more attuned to the stars than we could ever imagine. As we move deeper into the heart of the city, the silence wraps around us, thick and heavy, like a presence. There is no sound, but the wind brushing against the ancient stones, the soft murmur of the river far below. The very air seems infused with a sacred stillness, as if the city itself has become a temple, a vessel for knowledge long lost. Whispers tell us that Machu Picchu was abandoned by its creators, its purpose forgotten, its inhabitants vanished into the mists of time. Some say it was left in haste, as though the people who built it knew that something was coming, something that would render their city irrelevant, its purpose unfulfilled. Others believe that the city was never meant to be found, that it was always a hidden place, reserved for those who could truly hear the echoes of the past. The moonlight falls softly on the terraces, illuminating their contours with a pale, ethereal glow. The stones seem to shimmer under the moon's gaze, and for a brief moment it feels as though the city comes alive again, not in the bustling activity of its builders, but in the quiet grace of its design. Each stone, each step, each carefully placed terrace seems to whisper of something greater, a connection between the earth, the sky, and the stars. It is said that the city was aligned with the heavens, its structures carefully oriented to mark the solstices and equinoxes, to honor the movements of the celestial bodies. In this place, the world of the living and the world of the divine were meant to meet, a meeting point where the earth could touch the stars, and the stars could touch the earth. As we tread softly between the ruins, we begin to feel the weight of the mystery that surrounds this place. Why was Machu Picchu abandoned? Was it a divine act, a call to return to the heavens? Or did the people who once lived here simply fade into the mountains, their memories slipping away like the fog that now blankets the terraces? The stone walls, cracked and weathered, seem to hold the answers, but they are not answers that can be spoken aloud. Perhaps they are not answers at all, but simply echoes of a time long past, whispers that only the wind and the moon can truly hear. There is a stillness here, a peace that seems to wrap itself around the city, soft and eternal. The ruins no longer speak in words, but in symbols, in the spaces between the stones, in the way the light dances upon them. It is said that the city's stones were carved from the mountains themselves, that the very earth gave birth to the city, and that in its construction, the builders sought to connect heaven and earth. The architecture of Machu Picchu is a reflection of the sacred, its terraces, its walls, its temples, all designed with a reverence for the natural world and the cosmos. The city was not built to stand forever. It was built to fade, to return to the earth, to dissolve into the mists from which it came. The moon rises higher in the sky, casting its silver light upon the ancient city. The shadows lengthen, and the silence deepens. In the stillness of the night, the air seems to hum with the faintest vibration, as though the ruins themselves are alive, breathing in the darkness. We stand on the edge of something ancient, something sacred, and yet we are unable to grasp it. The city's secrets remain hidden, locked away in the silence, beneath the stone and the mist. Perhaps the answers we seek were never meant to be found, or perhaps they lie waiting for the right moment, when the stars align once more. In the distance, the peaks of the Andes rise like silent sentinels, their jagged edges softened by the mist. The clouds drift lazily across the sky, weaving between the mountains like a veil. We stand here, at the edge of this sacred place, unsure whether we are visitors or wanderers, and what exactly we are seeking. Perhaps we are simply listening to the whispers of the past, to the echoes of a civilization that vanished, leaving behind only the memory of its name. Or perhaps we are searching for something deeper, something more elusive, a truth that lies hidden beneath the stones and the stars. As the moon climbs higher, the city grows still once more. The ruins, bathed in its light, seem to fade into the night, becoming one with the earth, one with the sky. There are no answers here, only the silence that holds them. Perhaps the city was never meant to be fully understood. Perhaps it was always meant to be a place of mystery, a place where the gods and the earth met, and where the secrets of the universe could be heard in the silence between the stones. The moonlight softens, and the ruins fade into the shadows, their outlines growing faint, as though they too are slipping away into the mist. The silence wraps itself around us once again, and we are left suspended, caught between the past and the present, between the known and the unknown. Some say the city is still alive, hidden beneath the mist, waiting for those who are willing to listen. Others believe that it was always meant to remain hidden, a place that belongs not to the world of men, but to the world of the gods. Perhaps it was never meant to be found at all. Perhaps it was simply meant to fade, like a dream that slips away with the dawn. And yet, as we stand beneath the moonlit ruins, we are left with the quiet wonder of it all, a city built for the gods, abandoned by its creators, and lost to time. The ruins speak without words, and we listen, allowing the silence to wash over us, knowing that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but simply to be felt. As the moon rises higher, the city fades into the night, and we are left with only the echo of its name. Machu Picchu, a place where the earth touches the sky, and where the secrets of the ancient world still linger in the silence. Somewhere, in the heart of an ancient jungle, there stands a temple, a place untouched by the hands of time. It is hidden from the world's gaze, shielded by dense, dark canopies, where the sun's golden fingers can barely penetrate the thick veil of leaves. This is a temple without stories, without names, and yet it holds an undeniable presence. It is as if the earth itself refuses to let it be forgotten. The stones are weathered, yet they stand strong, their surfaces bare, untouched by the hand of any artist or craftsman. There are no carvings, no inscriptions to give voice to its history. And still, it speaks through the stillness, through the silence. As we step closer, the jungle hums with a quiet, sacred rhythm. The wind whispers between the leaves, the sound of distant water flowing like the murmur of a forgotten dream. There is no movement here, save for the soft dance of shadow and light, but something stirs within us. Perhaps it is the weight of the temple's silence, or the very air that grows thick with something unspoken. This is a place where the past lingers, not as a memory, but as a presence alive in the stones. It is said that long ago, An order of guardians built this temple. They were called the Watchers, and their purpose was sacred, tied to a truth so deep and hidden that it could never be revealed. Whispers tell us that they were the keepers of a secret far older than the earth itself, a truth too powerful to be spoken, too dangerous to be known. These Watchers, silent in their devotion, stood vigil over this place for centuries, ensuring that the temple's secret remained buried beneath layers of stone and silence. And then, one day, they vanished, leaving the temple to its quiet fate, its halls empty and its walls unmarked. The temple stands before us, as silent as the jungle that surrounds it. We approach the threshold, our steps soft, as if afraid to disturb the fragile stillness. The air thickens, heavy with the weight of the Watcher's absence, as though their presence still lingers, watching us from the shadows. The walls of the temple seem to pulse with a quiet energy, a kind of life hidden beneath their surface. The design is baffling, inexplicable. The architecture seems both ancient and unfamiliar, its angles and proportions disorienting, as if it were crafted by a hand that understood something beyond the realms of human understanding. There is no clear purpose to its form, no logic behind the arrangement of its chambers, its doors, its walls. It is as if the very structure of the temple exists to defy explanation, to remind us that there are things in this world that cannot be understood. Inside, there are no adornments, no treasures, no offerings left behind by those who once worshipped here. The temple is empty, yet it is far from vacant. It is filled with the weight of the Watcher's silence, a silence that stretches back through time and echoes in the stone. In the dim light that filters through the cracks in the stone, the shadows shift and sway like memories fading just out of reach. The walls are smooth, featureless, yet they hum with an ancient power, as though they are imbued with the secrets they hold. Each step we take within this sacred space feels like a step further into a realm beyond the familiar, into a place where time itself seems to lose its meaning. The silence is profound. It is not the stillness of absence, but the silence of waiting, of holding something precious and dangerous within its embrace. As we walk through the temple's empty halls, we begin to sense the presence of the Watchers, not as figures, but as an essence, an invisible force that wraps itself around us. We do not see them, yet we feel their eyes upon us, as though the walls themselves are watching, waiting. Their silence is not one of peace, but of vigilance. They are the guardians of something ancient, something beyond the reach of mortal minds. And they are still here, even though they have long since disappeared. The temple's labyrinthine design speaks to us in ways words cannot. Its passageways twist and turn, leading us deeper into its heart, but never revealing its true purpose. There are no clear answers here, only more questions, whispered on the wind, caught between the stone and the leaves. Why was this place built? Why was it abandoned? What truth could be so sacred that it required the creation of a temple that defies all reason, all logic? Why did the Watchers leave? And what did they leave behind? As we wander through the empty halls, we are reminded that the temple itself is a mystery. Its walls, its chambers, its silence, they are not meant to be understood. Perhaps they were never meant to be found. The Watchers may have built this place not to be discovered, but to stand as a silent testament to a truth that cannot be spoken, a secret that must remain locked away. The temple was never meant to be a place of worship in the conventional sense. It was not a place to pray, or to offer sacrifices, or to seek answers. It was a place to protect something, something that could not be known. And in its emptiness, it guards that secret still. The air grows thick as we stand in the heart of the temple, surrounded by the smooth stone walls that rise like silent sentinels. We feel the weight of the silence pressing down upon us, as though the temple itself is holding its breath, waiting for something. Or perhaps it is waiting for us to hear the truth that lies buried within its walls, hidden beneath layers of time and memory. But the truth remains elusive, slipping through our fingers like sand. There are no answers here, only the quiet presence of the Watchers, watching us from the edges of our consciousness, waiting for us to understand something that we cannot yet comprehend. Perhaps the truth is not something that can be understood. Perhaps it is a feeling, a sensation, a whisper in the dark that only those who listen with their hearts can hear. And as we stand there, in the silence of the temple, we realize that we may never know the secret it holds. The watchers are gone, their vigil ended, but their presence remains. Perhaps they left not because their task was finished, but because we were never meant to find out what they were guarding. Perhaps the silence itself is the secret, a reminder that some truths are too powerful to be known, too sacred to be spoken. As we leave the temple and step back into the jungle, the weight of the silence lingers with us. The wind still whispers through the leaves, and the distant river hums its eternal song. The watchers are gone, but their presence remains, as silent and eternal as the stones of the temple itself. And perhaps, in the end, that is the secret of the silent temple. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but only to be felt in the stillness, in the silence, in the space between the stones. Perhaps the watchers were never meant to leave us with answers. Perhaps they were only meant to leave us with the question, what is it that we cannot know? And why, in the quietest corners of the world, does the silence itself hold such power? As we drift away, the jungle swallows us once more, and the temple fades into the mist, its walls still standing watch over a secret that may never be spoken. Somewhere, beyond the confines of the present, in the distant heart of forgotten lands, there is a path that winds through the earth, like an ancient memory, the Silk Road. It is a road that no longer holds the weight of bustling caravans or the promise of silk and spices. Now, it is veiled in dust, its stones worn smooth by the passing of time. Yet beneath the silence, the land hums with echoes, faint whispers that tell of the travelers who once traced its winding course. It is said that the Silk Road was more than just a trade route. It was a bridge between worlds, a meeting of civilizations, and a path that carried not only goods, but ideas, dreams, and ancient wisdom. But now, the cities are gone, the markets empty, and the great caravanserais stand only as crumbled ruins. Yet, somehow in the quiet of the land, something lingers. The road, though lost, still calls. And as we tread along this forgotten path, the stones beneath our feet seem to remember the footsteps of those who once walked here, merchants who traded in silks, spices, and strange treasures, pilgrims who crossed deserts and mountains in search of wisdom and sacred knowledge, scholars who sought to bridge the gaps between East and West. The desert stretches before us, endless and still. The air is dry, heavy with the scent of ancient earth and distant memories. The sun casts long, wavering shadows across the sand, and in the distance, the faint outline of mountains rises, ancient and unmoving. The wind stirs the dust at our feet, carrying with it the faintest echoes of those who came before. Their stories are lost, but their presence remains etched in the very stones of this land. As we follow the winding path, the landscape seems to change. Like a dream fading in and out of focus, we pass through broken cities, their walls cracked and crumbling, their windows like empty eyes staring into the void of time. There are no voices here now, only the wind and the soft, rhythmic creaking of forgotten timbers. Yet, if we listen closely, we can almost hear the murmurs of traders haggling over precious goods, the faint rustle of scrolls being unrolled, the soft tread of feet crossing the threshold of ancient temples. It is as though the road itself is a repository of forgotten knowledge, of secrets passed from one hand to another, of truths exchanged in whispers beneath the moonlight. The true treasure of the Silk Road was never just the material wealth it carried, but something deeper, something intangible. Some believe it was the exchange of ideas, the meeting of minds from the distant corners of the earth. The road was a conduit for the flow of wisdom from the Far East to the West, from the North to the South. It brought with it philosophies and religions, inventions and knowledge that transformed entire civilizations. The world, at least for a moment, seemed smaller, more connected, and the boundaries between the known and the unknown became blurred. But what happened to the road? Where did it go, and why did it fade into silence? The cities that once thrived along its path are now lost, buried beneath the sands of time. Some say that the road was abandoned, its trade routes forgotten, its travelers lost to history. Others whisper that something more mystical occurred, that the road was swallowed by the earth, veiled from the world as if it had never existed. There are those who speak of the cities of gold, of treasures hidden beneath the dunes, of relics untouched by the hand of time. But these are only whispers, fragments of dreams lost to the night. The land now feels empty, yet it is not. The presence of the past is everywhere, lingering in the dust that rises in the wake of the wind, in the remnants of walls that still stand as silent sentinels to a time long past. And it is here, in this stillness, that we begin to feel the true weight of the Silk Road. It was not just a road that connected places, but a road that connected people, a thread woven through the tapestry of time, binding the distant corners of the earth in an eternal, unbroken journey. And now, even as the path has disappeared, its memory still lingers, suspended between the past and the present, between what was and what might have been. As we walk further, the landscape shifts again, and we find ourselves at the foot of a mountain. The path grows steeper, and the air grows thinner, yet the silence only deepens. In the distance, we see the faint outline of an ancient temple, its broken columns reaching toward the sky like the bones of a forgotten god. There is no sign of life here, only the slow, steady erosion of time. The temple stands, not as a place of worship, but as a witness to a time when the world was young, when the stars above held meaning, and the path below was lined with the hopes and dreams of those who sought to understand the mysteries of the earth. We pause at the base of the mountain, looking up at the temple that seems to float between earth and sky, caught in the space between worlds. There is something sacred about this place, something eternal. Perhaps it is the remnants of wisdom that still reside in these stones, or perhaps it is the knowledge that once flowed freely along the Silk Road, carried by those who sought more than just material wealth. What was it that they sought, we wonder? Was it knowledge, like the scholars who walked these paths with scrolls in hand? Or was it something more, something spiritual, something deeper than the reach of the human mind? The truth, it seems, is buried here, beneath layers of dust and time, waiting to be rediscovered. The wind picks up, carrying with it the scent of earth and stone, the scent of something ancient and long forgotten. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, the sky is painted with hues of dusky purple and gold. The temple's shadow stretches across the land, its form growing long and dark, as though it is reaching out to us. We stand in the fading light, the silence wrapping around us like a cloak, and we ask ourselves, what was the true treasure of the Silk Road? Was it the goods that changed hands, the spices and silks that brought prosperity to distant lands? Or was it the knowledge, the exchange of ideas that forever altered the course of history? Perhaps it was both, or perhaps the treasure lies not in the things that were traded, but in the journey itself, the journey of discovery, of connection, and of the quiet, sacred exchange between cultures that once seemed so distant, yet were bound together by a single thread. As night falls, we begin to make our way back along the path, the stars above us now bright and cold, like the eyes of the ancestors watching us from the heavens. The ruins fade into the darkness, and the wind carries with it the faintest whispers, as though the road itself is trying to speak, to share its secrets with those who are willing to listen. But the road is silent, and we are left with only the echoes of its past. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, this path that winds through the heart of the earth. Perhaps its true treasure was not the wealth it once carried, but the memory it has left behind. The Silk Road is gone, but its legacy lingers in the stones, in the ruins, in the whispers of those who once walked its path. And in the stillness of the night, we are reminded that some roads, though forgotten, are never truly lost. They remain, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right traveler to follow their path once more. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Perhaps the road is still there, beneath the earth, beneath the stars, waiting for us to hear its call. In the soft, eternal embrace of the Aegean, beneath the warm sun that casts long shadows across the land, there lies the island of Crete, a place where time seems to linger, like a whisper barely heard. The ancient stones, weathered by centuries of salt air and wind, still hold the echoes of a civilization that once flourished in the light of the gods. Some believe that here, where the waves kiss the shore and the mountains rise in silent reverence, there was once a kingdom whose beauty rivaled the heavens themselves. It is said that the Minoans, The children of the sea and sun built palaces of grandeur that reached for the sky. Frescoes of vivid colors danced across their walls, depicting scenes of life and ritual, of fertility and the divine. In their halls, the air hummed with the sacred energy of gods and kings, and the people walked between two worlds, one of flesh, the other of spirit. Theirs was a civilization of mystery, a civilization whose name still stirs something ancient in our hearts. Yet, in the stillness of the centuries, their story has become a legend, a story of rise, of glory, and of an abrupt, unfathomable fall. The Minoans, it seems, vanished as suddenly as they had come, leaving behind only the ruins of their once magnificent palaces and the whispers of their gods. The earth itself, it is said, swallowed their greatness, and their magnificent culture was lost to the ages. And now, as we walk the forgotten streets of Knossos, among the remnants of their grandeur, we ask ourselves, what happened to them? What brought such sudden silence to a civilization so full of life? There is one symbol that remains among the ruins, the Minoan crown. This simple yet powerful relic, lost in the dust of time, speaks louder than any fresco or artifact. It is said to be a representation of the Minoan kingship, a crown worn by the rulers, a gift from the gods, or perhaps a symbol of something far darker, a power that no longer exists, but once shaped the very earth itself. The crown's journey through time is as mysterious as the people who once wore it. Beneath the golden rays of the Cretan sun, we follow the path of this crown, tracing its origins from the moment it was created, crafted with the delicate hands of artisans, whose names have been erased from history. It is believed that the crown was more than just a symbol of kingship. Some say it was a gift from the gods, a celestial token that imbued its wearer with the power of the divine. Others whisper that it was forged from the essence of the earth itself, a symbol of earthly dominion, a reminder of the balance between life and death, the heavens and the earth. As we step through the ruins of Knossos, our steps slow, each footfall a prayer, each breath a reverent whisper. The air is thick with the weight of the past. The silence is heavy, like a shroud over the land, as though the earth itself holds its breath, remembering the moment when the Minoans were no more. There are no voices here, no laughter, no cries of joy or sorrow, only the stillness that remains when the life of a people has faded. Yet the crown's presence lingers, undiminished by time, as though it still watches over the city that once was. The ruins of Knossos are vast and intricate, their walls once adorned with frescoes depicting the rituals of life, of bull leaping, of gods and mortals entwined in sacred dance. Yet, amid the beauty, there is an undercurrent of mystery. The crown, the symbol of kingship, lies hidden in the shadows of time. Some believe that it was cast aside after the fall of the Minoans, its power lost along with the civilization that birthed it. Others say that the crown was scattered across the earth, its pieces hidden in plain sight, waiting to be found by those who dare seek the truth. As we move through the labyrinthine halls of Knossos, the air seems to hum with the presence of the crown. The walls, though crumbled and broken, seem to speak of a time when the crown sat atop the head of a ruler, when the gods themselves watched over the land. The faintest glimmers of gold dance in the corners of our vision, as if the crown's legacy still shimmers, waiting to be touched once again. What does it mean, this crown? What power did it hold? And why has it been lost to the winds of history? In the quiet of the ruins, we are left with only questions, and the haunting beauty of the crown's memory. Did it symbolize the divine right of kings, a connection between the earth and the heavens? Was it a reminder of the delicate balance between life and death, a symbol of the cyclical nature of existence? Or was it something darker, a symbol of a power that once ruled with unquestioned authority, but now lies dormant, waiting for a time when it will awaken once more? As we leave the palace and step into the open air, the sun begins its descent behind the distant mountains, casting long shadows across the ruins. The earth beneath our feet seems to hum with a quiet energy, as though it remembers the past, remembers the crown, remembers the Minoans. The sea whispers in the distance, its waves gentle against the shore, as though it too has witnessed the rise and fall of this once great civilization. Perhaps, it is said, the crown was never meant to be found. Perhaps its power lies not in its form, but in the memory it leaves behind, a memory of a people who touched the divine, whose beauty and mystery still linger in the stones and frescoes, in the silence of the ruins. The Minoans may be gone, but their legacy remains, wrapped in the stillness of the land, waiting to be rediscovered by those who seek the truth. Some voices, like the crown, only echo when we are ready to listen, and perhaps, like the Minoans, we too will one day fade into the past, leaving behind only whispers and remnants of a time long gone. But for now, the crown remains shattered, scattered, but still powerful, still a symbol of the mysteries that lie beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. As the night falls, and the last traces of sunlight slip away, the land grows quiet once again. The crown's mystery lingers in the cool evening air, like a distant dream, just out of reach. And as we drift into the silence, we are left with the knowledge that some questions are never fully answered, and some mysteries, like the crown of the Minoans, remain forever hidden, their secrets carried away on the winds of time. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the crown's true power lies not in its gold or jewels, but in the memories it evokes, the story of a people, a civilization, and a symbol that will forever be lost in the depths of history. And so we leave the ruins behind, the silence once again embracing the land. The crown, like the civilization it once represented, fades into the shadows of time, its mystery lingering, waiting for the next soul brave enough to seek it. Beneath the silence of Crete, beneath the sands and the sea, the crown's legacy endures, and perhaps, somewhere in the quiet, its story will be remembered again. Somewhere, beneath the shadow of the towering fjords and the biting winds of the north, there is a quiet song, faint, lingering, as if whispered by the very earth itself. It is said that in the time of the Vikings, when the sea roared and the stars blazed above the icy shores, there lived seers whose voices danced with the winds, whose eyes saw beyond the veil of this world. They were not the warriors whose names rang through the halls of Valhalla, nor the kings whose bloodlines would echo through the centuries. No, they were the mystics, the dreamers, the ones who spoke to the gods themselves. In the soft dusk, where the northern lights shimmer like threads of fire in the sky, their chants once filled the air like a sacred hymn, rising above the sound of the crashing waves. Their songs, woven from the threads of fate, wrapped the heavens and earth in a tapestry of ancient knowledge. The songs were as old as the mountains themselves, flowing like a river of forgotten truths, carried by the wind and the stars. Yet, as the ages passed, these voices grew faint, like the distant hum of an instrument no longer played. It is said that the seers could hear the music of the spheres, the very pulse of the universe. Their voices were the echoes of ancient wisdom, their eyes windows to the beyond. With every word they spoke, a veil between the mortal world and the divine was lifted, allowing glimpses of futures untold and mysteries unspoken. In the stillness of the night, it is said, you could hear the distant sound of their chants, carried on the wind, as though they were singing the very soul of the world. The path of the seers was not an easy one. They walked between worlds, between the living and the dead, between the gods and mortals, between the earthly and the celestial. Their knowledge was both a gift and a burden. To see the future was to be cursed with its weight, for the seers knew of things that others could not bear to hear. They foresaw battles yet to be fought, kingdoms that would rise and fall, the end of worlds and the birth of others. And yet, despite the weight of their knowledge, they were not feared. They were revered, and their prophecies, once spoken, became as sacred as the stars themselves. In the deep silence of the night, beneath the pale light of the moon, we follow their footsteps. We walk beside them, feeling the cool northern winds brush against our skin, carrying with them the scent of pine and salt. The mountains rise high above us, their jagged peaks draped in mist, and the distant sound of the sea reaches our ears, like a song long forgotten. We listen, as they once did, to the songs of the universe, the melody of fate, the rhythm of time itself. Through the mists of time, their voices come to us as echoes, as whispers that have slipped through the cracks of history. Some say their words were the winds themselves, swirling with ancient wisdom, touching the hearts of those who were meant to hear. Others believe that the seers could see beyond the physical world, into realms unknown to most, where the threads of fate were woven into the fabric of existence. Their songs were not of this world, they were the music of the stars, of the gods, of the very breath of the earth. And yet, despite their connection to the divine, their songs faded, like the last notes of a lullaby sung to a child long grown. The Vikings, known for their warriors and their raids, for their gods and their sagas, began to turn their gaze toward the material world. The seers, their wisdom untold, began to fade into the mist. Some believed that they foresaw the fall of their own world, that they saw the coming of new gods, the rise of a new age, an age where the old ways would be buried beneath the weight of time. In the silence of the night, we are left with their songs. The last remnants of their sacred knowledge drift like smoke, lingering in the stillness of the northern lands. What did the seers know? What was the secret hidden in their songs? Some say they saw the end of their world, that they knew of the rise and fall of empires, of the gods' retreat into the heavens. Others believe that their visions were of something more ethereal, something far beyond mortal comprehension, something that lies in the heart of the universe itself. Beneath the stars, we listen for the faint echo of their voices. The wind whispers their names, and the earth hums with the memory of their chants. The mountains stand as silent witnesses to their prophecies, the fjords as deep as the secrets they carried. And, in the stillness of the night, we begin to wonder, did the seers know something that we do not? Did they glimpse the very fabric of the cosmos, understanding the delicate balance between life, death, and rebirth? Or were they simply dreamers, their songs nothing more than fleeting shadows cast upon the walls of the universe? Perhaps it was never meant to be understood, this ancient knowledge. Perhaps the songs of the seers were meant to be heard only by the stars themselves, carried away on the winds, to be lost forever in the cosmic dance of time. Yet, even as their voices fade into the silence of the night, the mystery of their songs lingers, like a distant star, always shining, always waiting. As we step back from the fjords, beneath the pale moonlight that bathes the land in a soft, ethereal glow, we are left with more questions than answers. The seers are gone, their songs are silenced, but their legacy remains, whispered by the winds that sweep across the northern lands. The last song of the Viking seers lingers in the air, just out of reach, a reminder of something greater than ourselves, something timeless. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the truth of their song lies in the mystery itself, in the stillness, in the silence, in the faintest echo of their voices. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen, and perhaps we, too, must wait for the right moment to hear them. And so, as the night deepens and the stars above shimmer like distant memories, we drift into silence, our hearts still echoing with the song of the seers, whose whispers will forever be carried by the winds, across the fjords and the mountains, into the infinite reach of the stars. Beneath the moonlight, somewhere far beyond the reach of time, there exists a shadow, a story whispered by the wind, carried across the ancient landscapes, echoing in the forgotten corners of the earth. It is said that long ago, beneath the grey skies of ancient Britain, there marched a legion of Rome, proud, fierce, and countless in number. The 9th Legion, once a mighty force, whose boots thundered against the earth in disciplined unison. They walked with purpose, their banners fluttering in the cold breeze, their armor gleaming in the dim light. But the story does not end with their victory. No, it is a tale shrouded in mist, where memory fades, and silence lingers like an unspoken word, left on the edge of history's tongue. For the 9th Legion, once so full of life, once so resolute in their march, simply disappeared. Where their footsteps once echoed, there is now only the wind and the earth itself, as if holding a secret so profound, so heavy, that it dare not speak. What became of them? Did they fall to betrayal, or was there a darker force at play? Did they vanish into the very earth, swallowed whole by the mists of time? Their fate, lost to the annals of history, has left only a void, and yet something of them lingers, still an echo, a whisper in the silence. Perhaps it was the land itself that took them, this ancient, untamed world, where the shadows grow long in the twilight hours, and the hills are heavy with secrets. Here, among the wilds of Britain, The roads they once walked are now covered in moss and stone. The empire they once served has crumbled into dust, its legions scattered to the winds. And still, the silence remains thick, as though the earth itself holds its breath. There are no markers for the Ninth Legion, no stones engraved with their names, no monuments raised in their honor, only whispers. Whispers that speak of a force that marched into the mist, only to be swallowed by it. There are no voices to call out their story, no song to preserve their memory, only a lingering emptiness that stretches across the land, as if the earth itself has erased them from its memory. But how could such a thing happen? How could an entire legion, warriors who had once stood side by side, resolute and proud, simply vanish from history? Perhaps it was betrayal, the ultimate weapon of those who walk between the worlds of power and treachery. Was there a hand unseen, pulling the strings of fate, or was it something far more inexplicable, something ancient, something that lies beyond mortal comprehension? We walk the forgotten paths they once trod, the land now quiet, now still. The wind whispers through the trees, and the rustling of leaves is like the faintest memory of the legion's march. The stones beneath our feet are worn, smooth with age, as if they too have forgotten the steps of soldiers who once walked this earth. The roads stretch endlessly ahead, twisted and winding, leading us deeper into the silence, as though we are following in their wake. Perhaps the answers lie beneath the soil, buried deep in the land that keeps its secrets well. There is something in the earth here, a presence, perhaps, a subtle hum, an ancient pulse that beats beneath the silence. It is as though the land itself remembers the legion. The shadows cast by the setting sun stretch out across the hills, as if reaching for something that is no longer there. And in the stillness, we wonder what became of them. What happened to the Ninth Legion? Some say they were lost to time, as if the mists themselves rose up and swallowed them whole. Others believe that the land itself took them, that some ancient force, some forgotten god, swept them away, leaving behind only their echoes, the faintest whispers of their march. Yet, in the distance, beneath the cold sky, we hear no answer, only silence, a silence that stretches endlessly, like the void left behind by something lost, something gone beyond reach. There is no monument here, no stone to mark their passing. The earth remains untouched, as though it guards its secret fiercely. The wind stirs the long grasses, and the moon, pale and distant, casts its light upon the land. The mists roll in once more, soft and thick, like the breath of an ancient, forgotten world. In this place, where history has faded into dust, where memory has slipped into the folds of time, the only sound is the whisper of the wind, the sound of a story that refuses to be forgotten. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps the fate of the Ninth Legion is a riddle too deep for mortal minds to unravel. Perhaps, in their disappearance, they have become more than men, more than soldiers. Perhaps they have become part of the very fabric of the land, woven into its silence, its mysteries. And so, we walk on our footsteps, quiet, our breath steady, as we trace the paths they once walked, the paths that lead nowhere and everywhere, into the heart of history itself. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. The Ninth Legion, lost to time, their story half remembered, lives on in the whispers of the earth. As we stand beneath the cold sky, beneath the moonlit mists that drift through the valleys, we feel it, the presence of something ancient, something beyond understanding, and as we listen, we hear the faintest echo of their march, still ringing out through the silent hills, still felt in the heartbeat of the earth. And in the quiet of the night, as the wind continues to whisper its secrets and the land holds its breath, we are left to wonder, did the Legion truly vanish? Or are they still here, in the whispers of the wind, in the shadows of the trees, in the pulse of the earth beneath our feet? Perhaps the answer, like the Legion itself, lies beyond our reach, buried in the silence, waiting for the day when we are ready to listen. Perhaps it is enough to simply remember them in the quiet, in the space between breaths, where the echoes of their march can still be heard, faint and distant, like a song half forgotten, but never truly gone. And so, we close our eyes, and let the silence wash over us, as it has washed over the land for centuries, knowing that some mysteries are meant to remain veiled, and that the ghost of the lost legion will walk beside us. Always, somewhere, deep within the mountains of Persia, a flame burns small, yet eternal, untouched by time or wind, untouched by the erosion of the centuries. It is said that this flame has flickered since the dawn of civilization, its light a symbol of the divine, its warmth a connection between earth and the heavens. Quietly, it continues to burn, undisturbed by the passing years, hidden within a temple, in a place where few can find it, where only the most devout can come to sit in its presence. The fire, small and constant, dances in the darkness. It whispers softly, as though it speaks a language older than words, older than human memory. And those who come to witness it, those who approach its flickering glow, feel the weight of something ancient, something beyond the realm of the senses. The flame, with its sacred glow, is a link to the divine. It is the embodiment of Attar, the sacred fire of Zoroastrianism, a symbol of purity, of light, of righteousness. For the Zoroastrians, this fire was more than just a flame. It was a representation of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, good and evil, order and chaos. In the stillness of the mountains, the flame reflects the beliefs of those who have long since passed the ancient faith that saw the world as a battleground, where the forces of darkness tried to snuff out the light, but where the fire of truth, of justice, burned on, never to be extinguished. And still, it flickers. We approach the flame, drawn to it as if by an unseen force, as if the very air vibrates with its quiet power. As we step closer, the temperature of the air changes, not in a way that we can feel directly, but in the way the atmosphere shifts when something sacred, something ancient, is near. The mountains around us seem to hum with the presence of the flame, as if they too carry the memory of its light, the memory of those who once prayed here, who once kept this fire burning in their hearts and their temples. We stand before the temple, its stones worn by time, its walls still standing strong despite the many years that have passed since its creation. The architecture, simple yet grand, evokes a sense of reverence. The entrance is framed by pillars, carved with symbols of fire and light, their intricate designs now fading in the shadow of the eternal flame. As we step inside, the air becomes heavy with the weight of centuries of devotion, the weight of countless prayers, each one a whisper into the silence, a plea for the light to remain. There, in the center of the temple, stands the fire small but powerful, cradled in a sacred hearth. Its flames rise and fall, dancing like the breath of the earth itself. There is no smoke, no ash, only the flickering light, as pure and unwavering as the faith of those who worshipped here. The fire burns, not for glory, not for spectacle, but for something much deeper, much more profound. What does the flame represent, we wonder? What did it mean to those who first lit it, and to the generations who have tended it since? Some believe it was a gift from the gods themselves, a divine spark that passed from one soul to another, carried in the hearts of those who served the light. Others say it is a symbol of the eternal struggle between Ahura Mazda, the god of light and wisdom, and Angra Mainyu, the spirit of darkness and chaos. In the flames, the Zoroastrians saw the battle of the cosmos, a reflection of the world in which they lived, a world where every soul was a participant in the great struggle, where each person's actions contributed to the victory of light over darkness. But the fire, though ancient, is not just a symbol of this struggle. It is also a symbol of purity, of goodness, of truth. In a world filled with noise and distraction, the fire is a reminder that beneath it all, there is a quiet, unyielding light that cannot be extinguished. It is said that those who sit in its presence are filled with a sense of peace, as if the very fire itself draws the darkness from within them, replacing it with clarity and understanding. As we sit before it, watching the flames dance in the quiet temple, we feel that peace seep into our bones, into our hearts. It is a peace that transcends time, a peace that flows like the river of life itself, steady and unchanging. And in this moment, as we watch the flicker of the flame, we are drawn into the quiet rhythm of its burning. The flame whispers to us, not in words, but in a language older than any tongue. It speaks of truth, of light, of the purity that can be found in the world, if we are only willing to seek it. It reminds us that, though darkness may come, it is always temporary, always fleeting. The flame burns on, and so will the light. Perhaps, we think, it is not meant to be understood, but only to be experienced. The flame does not need explanation. It does not need history or analysis. It simply is, and in that simple truth, there is peace. The fire remains unextinguished, because it is not of this world, it is of the divine. It burns not because it is forced, but because it is part of the very fabric of existence. It is the flame of truth, the flame of purity, the flame that reminds us of what we can become if we align ourselves with the light. As we leave the temple, stepping back into the cool air of the mountains, the flame remains in our minds, its image burned into our souls. The mountain peaks, dusted with snow and bathed in twilight, seem to echo with its warmth. The earth below us, though cold and still, seems to pulse with the same energy that we felt in the temple. The world around us is quiet once more, but the memory of the flame lingers in our hearts, like a soft hum, like a quiet prayer whispered into the night. Some say that the flame will burn for as long as the world exists, that as long as there are souls to tend it, it will remain a symbol of the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Others believe that its fire will only remain until the end of time, when the world will finally know peace. Perhaps it is a mystery we are not meant to solve, a riddle too deep for our minds to comprehend. But even in the silence of the mountains, beneath the stars, beneath the eternal gaze of the fire, we find comfort in knowing that it is there burning, flickering, unyielding. And perhaps, in the quiet moments before sleep, we too can carry a piece of that flame with us, a reminder of the light that burns, even in the darkest of times. Perhaps we too can find our way back to the sacred flame within, and like the Zoroastrians, we can know that no matter how dark the world may become, there is always a light that will guide us through. Perhaps, in the end, it is enough to simply sit in the presence of the flame, to feel its warmth, and to know that some mysteries, some truths, are meant to remain eternal, and in that knowing, there is peace. It is said that on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, where the earth itself hums with the pulse of the ancient world, there once stood a place where the divine met the mortal. Beneath the pale gaze of Apollo, the god of prophecy, music, and light, the oracles of Delphi spoke with voices both serene and unsettling. Their words, whispered through the mist, were not simply predictions, but riddles wrapped in shadows. Some say the future unfolded in their utterances, while others claim that their words bent the very fabric of time itself. Tonight, under the silent watch of the moon, we find ourselves standing at the edge of that sacred space. The ruins of Delphi rise before us like memories half remembered, their stones long weathered, but still brimming with a quiet power. The air is thick with the weight of what was once known, heavy with the reverberations of a time when gods and mortals brushed against one another, when the earth seemed to pulse with the breath of the divine. We begin our journey in the moonlight, the silver glow casting long shadows across the ancient temple. The path is overgrown now, the steps once trodden by countless pilgrims and seekers of truth, now tangled in vines and dust. Yet, even in the silence, we can hear the echoes of their voices, the faintest whispers carried by the wind, murmuring through the crumbling columns. These are the voices of the oracles, whose riddles once shaped the destinies of kings and commoners alike. As we step further into the ruins, the air changes. It is as though we have crossed into a different realm, a place where time holds no sway. The stones beneath our feet seem to hum with an energy older than the land itself. We pass beneath the archway of the Temple of Apollo, where once the Pythia, the high priestess, would sit upon her sacred tripod, inhaling the fumes that rose from the earth, and entering a trance through which the gods spoke. It is said that Apollo himself spoke through her, his divine breath guiding her utterances. But the words were never clear, never direct. Instead, they were veiled in riddles, cryptic and elusive. Perhaps that was the nature of prophecy, to speak in veils, to weave the threads of fate into patterns that could only be understood with the passage of time. Or perhaps, some believe, it was meant to keep mortals from knowing too much too soon. For in Delphi, as in all sacred spaces, Knowledge came with a price, and the future was a gift that few were prepared to bear. The night deepens, and the shadows grow longer, stretching across the ancient stones like the fingers of the gods themselves. The ruins are bathed in the soft, silver light of the moon, which casts an otherworldly glow upon the fractured statues of Apollo and his companions. Here, amidst the scattered fragments of marble and broken columns, the air feels thick with memory. We sit quietly, our breath matching the rhythm of the earth, and listen for the voices that still echo in the stillness. What did the oracles truly know? Were their words mere riddles, the result of a mind altered by the intoxicating fumes of the earth's depths? Or were they the true vessels of divine insight, their cryptic utterances holding the secrets of the universe, secrets hidden just beyond the reach of mortal understanding? Some say the oracles saw the threads of fate, they saw the rise and fall of empires, the course of battles, the twists and turns of history itself. It is said that Alexander the Great, before his campaigns, visited Delphi, seeking the guidance of the oracle. The Pythia's words, spoken in a trance, were enigmatic. As always, she prophesied his victory but also foretold his untimely death, a shadow that loomed over his every triumph. And yet, for all their wisdom, the oracles of Delphi were never certain of their own fates. They too were bound by the uncertainties of time, forever entwined in the web of prophecy. Perhaps, like all those who sought their counsel, the oracles too were searching for something, something that lay just beyond their reach, something hidden in the mists of the future. As we wander through the temple's ruins, we come across the remains of the sacred spring that once fed the priestess's trance. The waters, clear and cold, are still as glass, reflecting the moon above. Some believe these waters held a secret power, a power that could reveal hidden truths to those who knew how to look. Perhaps it was here, by this very spring, that the Pythia's mind was open to the gods, where her visions unfolded like the petals of an ancient flower. In the stillness of the night, we kneel beside the water, and for a moment, we too feel the weight of the past pressing upon us. The oracles, the prophecies, the dreams of those who came before us, they all linger here, beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. But what, we wonder, are these mysteries? What truths did the oracles speak? And why are their words so often lost to time? Were their prophecies ever truly fulfilled, or were they simply fragments of a greater, unknowable pattern? The answers seem elusive, hidden like the stars behind a veil of clouds, and yet, perhaps that is the nature of all things sacred, to be veiled, to remain just out of reach, forever beyond our understanding. We rise, and the night deepens around us. The ruins of Delphi, though silent, are alive with memory. The broken columns, the shattered statues, the whispers of the past, they all hold something, though we may never know what it is. Perhaps it is the knowledge of the gods, the knowledge of the world's true fate, or perhaps it is simply a reminder that we, too, are part of something much larger than ourselves. The oracle's words, though fragmented and obscure, remind us that our lives, like the prophecies of Delphi, are but part of an ancient story that stretches far beyond our own understanding. As the moon rises higher in the sky, casting its silver light over the ruins, we realize that the answers we seek may never be fully revealed. Perhaps the oracles themselves never understood the full scope of their visions, for they too were only human. They too were subject to the forces of fate and time. And yet, in the silence that surrounds us, we find a quiet peace. It is a peace that comes from knowing that some questions are not meant to be answered, that some mysteries are not meant to be solved. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, this elusive truth, this key to the universe. But in the act of seeking, in the journey itself, there is a kind of sacred understanding. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. And perhaps, like the oracles of Delphi, we too must wait for the right moment, the right time, when the mysteries of the world will unfold before us, not as answers, but as invitations to a deeper understanding, one that transcends words, one that lives in the space between breaths. In this silence, we are left with the question, what secrets lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be heard again?